I hope this finds you in good spirits. And I'm sort of following on here from what we could say the last video, which was multidimensional communication. There's some things I didn't cover in that I want to elaborate on, go a little bit more in depth in it as well, with showing the true nature of multidimensional mind, experiences with otherworldly beings, what it can be, as well as a physical interaction. And I guess still, what I covered in the last video is still a form of physical interaction when we're talking about beings appearing in apparition form, but we could say more in a gaseous type state rather than we could say a solid state. So I want to start off again, instead of going into it the way I did last time with, we could say, the clair senses. The way I've got a perspective on this from experience is a little bit different, but I guess more of a layman's way, that it incorporates the psychic senses the way it's mainly known. So for an example, when contact is taking place, there's a few byproducts and we could say things happening with our senses. Now, like I say, there's physically seeing beings as well as in the mind's eye. There is hearing voices. There is smells and tastes that can come through as a form of communication. And also there is touch sensation. Now what I say, unless you're already working with some of those senses, don't worry about them too much. Today I'll really want to focus in this part of the presentation with 3 of them. Touch sensation is one of them out of the 5 sense reality, and very important. Why that is that when we get goosebumps, hair standing up, temperature changes, energy sensations on the body, as well as even feeling like we're not alone, what's in effect actually happening is something's light body is overlapping your light body. Now, it could even be a being that could be in a complete different realm or on another planet that we could say is bilocating, projecting consciousness. It could actually be there, but you're not physically seeing it as well. Many different ways that this can take place. This is important for 2 reasons. One reason is that emotions and feelings can be transferred through that overlapping of the light bodies as a form of communication. So this is where I say being aware of thoughts, ideas, emotions. They may not be yours, but this is where being the observer and witnessing, just being a witness in that state when you feel the sensations on the body, enough practice with that, you'll be able to start to decode what's going on. Equally important with that is that each being will affect your body computer, your human vessel, differently. I use this analogy a lot. Let's say there's a being that comes in, and just say you got energy on your right arm, and you interface with the intelligence and work out who it is. Let's just say it's a being from Orion. Well, a month later you could be doing something, feel energy on the right arm again, and it feels like the same energy, the way that the energy is hitting the arm. Well, that would be the same being. Now, there is times where you may get, let's say, 3 different intelligences that will hit the same part or affect the body the same way. Let's say angelic energies, the whole body is just vibrating and rushing. Now, this can happen without contact. I will go into that in later teachings and things where in altered states of consciousness or hitting higher states of consciousness in meditation, connecting with source, or we could say different higher realms, this can be a similar thing. But for all intents and purposes with contact, let's say angelic energies are coming in, your whole body's just vibrating. Now, if there's 3 entities that could do this, that you start to go, all right, well, this guy did this, and now I've got another being that's doing this. What I say is look at the intensity. So one might feel like that you're plugged into a power main, one might feel like ecstasy, one might feel like just an amazing feeling of love, different from the other 2. So each being gives off their own frequency in the way that they affect the body computer. The next sense that I'll go into is what I call form of communication, part of the senses, but we could say more coming through purely through thought, is what I call thought transfer. This is where I don't think it's able to be acknowledged how the mechanics work that I've been shown, but I'll explain the mechanics and the byproduct. So what's happening, we could say in one way, is that a being is projecting a thought from their light body to yours. It comes down through the crown chakra, through the right side of the brain to the left, and you're left with thoughts, ideas, epiphanies, concepts, impressions, a knowingness. This is the main way that communication is done. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't want to be discerning and believe everything coming through and really do ourselves an injustice, because as I say, it's the fruit of the information, and this is something that takes time. And like I say to many people, when you're delving into this stuff, you don't know a lot of the time until after the fact if you're right. With any psychic work, you just don't. It's the fruit of the information. This is where things do take time, but the intention and the practice of doing exercises is very important. Now, the third thing is the mind's eye. Now, of course, we know that we can get visions, what have you. We can see other worlds, otherworldly beings inside crafts. There's many things that can happen in the mind's eye. With that said, a lot of people just see a light or a colour. In terms of contact, what I say to people is that is a highly intelligent being. Just because you're not seeing eyes, a face, a mouth, hair or skin doesn't mean that you're not dealing with something intelligent when you're just getting a colour or a light. It's there to communicate with. I will say that these beings aren't to be looked up to. They're just the greater family of men, but they are stepping stones and sometimes other aspects, spirit guides, extraterrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, saints, sages and masters that are there to just assist us to assist ourselves. That's what it is. They're trying to assist us to get to a higher state of consciousness, which the Earth is going through an evolutionary process now. Going through space, its own cycle, and we're going through what we could say a turbulent time to get to a higher state of consciousness, releasing that which no longer serves us. Now, in terms of how these intelligences can appear, there is many forms they can physically materialise. There sometimes is physical extraterrestrials or otherworldly beings. They've got exotic technologies, what would seem like magic to us. But a lot of the time, what we're dealing with is beings that can appear as light. They can appear as sort of a misty smoke. I've spoken about this before, and as far out there as it sounds, these beings can even land with their craft on top of you. This happens to me all the time, happens to others all the time when they speak to me and they start understanding what's going on. I didn't want to speak about this for many years because it is far out there. What you have is a situation where, like I've been saying and I said in the last episode, these beings can appear like an apparition. So let's, for example, say there's contact taking place and a craft, a flying saucer in apparition form that you may not even be able to perceive fully at the time, it lands on your bedroom. Now, parts of it could be overlapping into rooms that are around your bedroom. They can land on it. If you're sensitive, you'll actually feel a deep vibration in the chest and throughout your body, and sometimes you'll even hear a tone like a woom, 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 and it's even like a Tibetan singing bowl, high pitch frequency to that. And that's the vibration. Now, there's a few things that can take place. You could tune in and you start to get a vision online in the mind's eye. There is even situations where your consciousness can leave the physical body and you can go in a non-corporeal state on board the craft. Sometimes they may even have what we could say is bodies that you could go into, like an avatar suit, we could say. So this is pretty far out there. And until later, when I was talking to Aboriginal elders about this and Native American elders about this, they knew this. And they were also saying that, you know, like I agree, people think that they're going to another planet or they're in space in a craft. They're exactly where they were. It's just they're now on a different frequency, and what's coming online is a craft that seems to be fully materialized because you're now vibrating with it. but you haven't really gone anywhere at all. And this is where, here, other events that I've done, we can have a craft land on the group, and what you'll notice is that there's a temperature change. It can go from being freezing cold to feeling like you're in a tropical environment. It could be a stinking hot day and the temperature can drop as well. So when that's happening, what I say to people is move about, check in your peripheral vision, because what's happening is we can pick up a lot more of the visible light spectrum in the peripheral vision. This is why a lot of people see shadow man or apparitions in their peripheral vision. And yes, you can sometimes see it straight on, but a lot of the time people will pick it up in their peripheral vision. And you may start to see the mist and what seems like silhouettes of beings in that. And this is where I say if you project a thought, what thoughts, feelings, visions come back, you can start to interface with these intelligences. So you can sort of start walking around, and what you'll find is the perimeter of the craft, because the temperature will go back to exactly what it is once you hit a certain spot. And if you start sort of walking on the borderline of that, you can start to tell how big or small the craft is, what the dimensions are, what the shape is of it. Now, at the end of the day, what I say to people is this stuff doesn't really matter too much. It's interesting, but I'm trying to educate people with this because I had to go through this and there was no manual. And we all have a journey here. We all have something to offer the world. We all have something to assist the world. And when you follow that passion, it's your purpose, and purpose and passion are the same thing. And so I'm just trying to enlighten, we could say, those of you that are watching with some different perspectives and knowledge from experience. So I'm just going to recap some photos that I showed in the last presentation, just to give a bit more of a understanding of this, again, with what I've just said. Here's a photo that I took years ago in my hometown Albury, well actually in the suburb of Lavington there, and there's the front lawn there, and there's a being in the craft in apparition form. Here's a video of a craft I filmed at ECETI. Perfect on camera. So we could say this is more like, well, we could say cigar type. And there again, a little bit closer, you can see the mist. There's the analysis from Jason Gleaves, ex-UK Air Force and Aerospace, who's got UF only, does video and photo analysis. And here's the other photo that I took a couple of years ago now. There's the original, you can see the footpath and the grass. Straight ahead there's the mist or cloud, and there's a being inside that. And here's a photo I took last year here at Jaya Sanctuary in the stone circle. You can actually see the stone that's in the middle of the circle, the bottom middle of the picture there. So it's just to give you some sort of references. Talking about references, we'll go into a bit of ancient references going on from the last presentation as well, where I was referencing some stuff from the Bible and the translated word of Buddha. So this one's talking about the experience with Moses. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. Following on from that, King James Bible, Exodus 24:16, following on with Moses. And the glory of the Lord abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the 7th day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud, meaning the Lord landed on the mountain. Now this is, what was I just saying a little bit earlier? That a craft can land on you in your bed. So this is where we could say it's, the clouds come down and it's overshadowing the mountain. We could say on top of it, surrounding it, going over it a little bit. Just some food for thought. Here's one now going into the ascension of Jesus. Acts 1:9 through to 11. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. Talking about a cloud again, right? And while they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went up, behold, 2 men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, Why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So this is where now Jesus is ascending and he's taken by a cloud. He's on the ground, a cloud formation comes down and he goes up into the heavens. Now, there is other phenomena that can take place and other signs of contact if you're having these types of experiences or you're open to it. And I always say do clearings first. These are just some of the signs that something's going on, possibly. A distortion in space-time. Now, this might look like heat coming off a road on a hot day. That sort of, you can see that shimmering type effect. Orbs, balls of light. They can come in many sizes. Being touched but nothing's there. Objects moving for no reason. Unexplainable lights. Sensation of energy on the body. Lights down low or up in the sky. Flashes of light. See-through crafts in apparition form, which I've just spoken about. Sometimes they can come in purely in geometric form and you can just see them as well, so they won't look like a mist, but they will be translucent. They'll have some sort of solid aspect to them, but they're purely see-through. But again, there's physical type crafts, you know, all different shapes and sizes as well. Thoughts that are not yours, so it's being the observer of thoughts coming in. Misty type apparitions around you that could be crafts or beings. And fully materialised beings and or crafts. So yes, they can teleport down, manifest, depending on the intelligence, their level of consciousness as well. Change of atmosphere and temperature, equipment failure of, let's say, battery drainage, static on viewing screen of a device, or activity and readings on devices. This is where we've got EMF meters, electromagnetic field meters that we use. There's also radiation Geiger counters, many different devices. Geez, I've got a couple of suitcases just of different devices, very similar to what they use in, we could say, ghost hunting and paranormal investigations. The same can be applied to initiating contact and documenting it. Yeah, thermometers, compasses, infrared cameras, UV cameras, normal cameras. You can even have audio recording device as well, where you can get electronic voice phenomena, that you can't hear things at the time, but voices or noises will appear on the recording. There's many things that you can apply to this to document it. And just be aware of people in the group that don't belong with you if you're doing it in a group setting. That's happened a few times, that beings have materialised and then they've blinked out and people have just noticed what just took place. And also visions in the mind's eye. So this is where you could be just closing your eyes, and what's happening is when you close your eyes, you're actually depriving yourself of sight, which can open up the other senses and even allow for inner visions to happen as well. And I'll be covering a lot more of all this in time as well. And like I say, if initiating contact, intention is key, as well as doing clearings and making sure that you clear your environment. What you're open to connecting with as well is of a positive light. Now, for those interested, on the website I've got the meditation initiating contact. Just go to the meditation page there, there's a link below. And when looking at delving into higher states of consciousness, this is a saying that I have. When witnessing the mind, observe how you're perceiving you witnessing the mind. If one can understand that, that is very much a key to not just contact, but going beyond contact and doing it externally and going to higher states of consciousness, which is really what this is all about. Everything else is a stepping stone to get to that state. And for more information on what I've just gone through as well, in more in-depth detail, I do have these two books available, CE5 Initiating Contact with Extraterrestrials and Connect to Your Spirit and ET Guides. So in the end, what's all this about? Well, it's really just giving you guys tips and tools to put into your spiritual toolbox. These experiences are about you when you're having them. There is a two-side effect of that the more that you learn about you learn about your passions, your purposes, and playing your part within the human race. And so this also leads to, let's say, contact in a group setting. It eventually gets to a stage of taking it from individual contact to being able to do it into a group, which is a whole different thing. And it's great that there's a lot of groups now around the world and people opening up to this and experiencing and capturing this phenomena. But really, predominantly, if you understand what I've gone through today, it's going to give you a better footing of understanding the true nature of contact, of it just not being a flying saucer coming in and landing on the ground and beings getting out, which they do. But this is the real main way that they're going to interface with you. And it takes a lot of people years to understand this, and I just hope that I've been able to assist you in the information that's digestible and able to integrate into your consciousness. So it's just opening you up a bit, that's all. So I'll leave it there, beautiful beings. I hope that this has been somewhat educational for you, and blessings, and take care.